Alright, what is up, you guys? Okay, so thank you for joining me today. I'm trying a whole new setup tonight. So hopefully all of the audio, the video, all of that still works just fine. You can hear me just fine. I was testing it out a whole bunch today and it seemed to work. So let me know in the chat if you happen to be in the chat at any point. You can't hear me or anything like that, and we'll see if we can fix it. So tonight, for a little while, we are going to work on this piece. Not a lot on this particular piece. I've got actually the floor piece that I'm going to work on coming up here in just a moment. But I was going to kind of show you one of the things that I did to get these different little color differences in the bricks. It's really simple, so hopefully people that watch will find it helpful or whatever. We'll do a little bit of sculpt work and a little bit of weathering on this floor piece. So essentially what I'm doing sounds good. Everything sounds good. Keith, thank you for joining and popping into the chat. One thing to note, I think there's about a 20-second delay. So if it takes me a little bit to respond, it's because on my end, I'm actually 20 seconds ahead of everybody. So I think it's really just to be able to get the actual video to work with the stream, because my computer is pretty cruddy. So we're gonna do some mostly sculpt tonight, and mostly on that floor piece. But I did want to show you guys just this real quick technique. Let me move this out of the way. Now obviously some of you, many of you, those of you that are watching, this could be something very simple, very not new to you, but essentially to those of you that are a little bit newer to diorama making and you've seen people doing the brick. Now I'm not saying by any means that this is an amazing looking piece. Actually, I think it looks better on camera right now than it's looking in front of me, but I still have a little more touch-up work to do on it. But all I do to get these little brick pieces so that I make sure that I'm not getting the color where I don't want it is I just take a little piece of cardboard. This was from, I think this is fruit snacks. Yeah, fruit snacks from my kids. Just took the box and I cut out the different brick designs that I wanted. So obviously you need to have just a single one, and then you want to have a double, and then kind of that little design. And then I just take my hey gamer Laja, I don't know how to pronounce it, but welcome, thank you for joining in. But basically then I'm not going to do it because I've already done this, but essentially I just take my paint and I'm going to dry brush it. So dip it in the paint and then, you know, get as much of it off as possible. You don't want to get all of it off, and then you just choose where you're going to put it and you just dry brush it and you'll get the designs that you want. Now you could cut another one like this but the opposite direction, or just flip it over and you have the opposite direction for that design, and then you can combine them. So if you're gonna call you gamer, all right gamer, will do. Like I said earlier, I am 20 seconds ahead of what you guys are witnessing, so it's there's an odd delay, but you know, whatever. Okay, so then basically I just choose all random. I try not to put anything, too many all in one area, just because you want to have that nice random design look. I thought this turned out decent enough. I'm not too unpleased with it. And then one of the other things that I really recommend doing is if you're going to do an edge one, and I recommend doing a few of these edge ones. We'll see if we can get this to focus. But you'll want to make sure that you allow that continuity of that brick, because the end of that brick is also going to be 20 seconds, isn't it usually 3? Yeah, it's usually less, but I'm using this Streamlabs OBS software. So in order for my computer to be able to process all of this together, I have to have it a little bit further buffered. Otherwise, it's garbage and it doesn't go through. Now, yeah, I could drop it down to like 720p, and maybe for a future one, I might do that if the 20-second delay is far too annoying, but we're just gonna give it a shot and see what it does. But back to the bricks, essentially just making sure that you have some of that continuity on your edges as well. That gives it even, more of a desirable look and feel. So, cool? We cool on that? I think so. I'll have to wait 20 seconds before you can actually answer anyway, so whatever. Alright, so what we are going to do today is this piece has a floor, and the way that I'm actually going to do this piece is it's a little bit different, and I'm still on the fence if this is going to be display worthy or not, but essentially I'm going to have a design on this side and on this side, so it'll be not really reversible. I mean, yes, it can be reversible, but it's going to be a display piece that has two sides, an outside and an inside. And actually, this piece is going to become my sidewalk. So if you look here, we've got a sidewalk. Actually, let me flip this. You'll have a sidewalk here, and I don't know, it might not be super well thought out, just because how do you display it? You could display it essentially looking at both sides. That's kind of what I was thinking, but also, you guys can't see that. Maybe if I tipped it, let's do it like this. You could look at it this way, so then essentially you're seeing both the inside and outside of the little building. That's kind of what I was thinking. Otherwise, it could be used for pictures. So I was thinking in a detolf, it could be set up essentially sideways, and you'd have your inside scene and then your outside scene. And I get my camera angle is probably not great for this, but it is what it is. Thank you, gamer, for saying that it looks good. I think it's turning out okay, but essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish my wood floor, and if you've never done wood, and I don't know what everybody's experience is doing wood floors, I've done a few. It's actually really quite easy. So what I do, and I've already done it, let's zoom it in so that you can see. What you want to do is you want to be able to get, we're going to focus this. See if you can see that. Come on, focus. There we go. Nope, I just lost that focus. Anyway, there you go. You want to get the wood grain. And it is actually really, really easy to get that wood grain on your floor. I have this, it's like a brush, it's an automotive brush or something that I found. I don't even know where I got it. I've had it for years, and you can see I've got this I've got a paper towel around it because there's a whole bunch of grease and nastiness that I couldn't get off. But essentially, these are just nylon, these little bristles. I wouldn't necessarily recommend using metal, like a wire brush. I think those are just too rigid and they're gonna cut too much. Now, if you really want a deeper wood grain, then maybe you could get away with it. I've never used it. So what's up, Will Siegel in the house? Thank you for joining. Hopefully this will be entertaining. If not, well, I apologize. But basically all you do is you're just going to take this and run it, and you can kind of give it a little bit of a wave because you don't want it to be too straight. And you can go over it over and over and over again, however many times you need. Obviously, the more you do it, the more you start kind of, I don't know, canceling some of it out if you start pressing it all down. But this just gives you a nice, very subtle wood grain. Again, if you want a deeper wood grain, you're probably going to need to play around with different kinds of brushes. How hard you press is also going to dictate how deep that's going to look. How coarse this is. If this was a little bit thinner, or meaning there wasn't as many brush whatevers, that also might give you a deeper cut, because a lot of these, because of the density of this, it's actually holding it from being able to cut in deeper. So anyway, that's that. Get some sort of brush. This is a I forget what I said, vinyl or plastic kind of bristle. Try obviously before you start it, test it out on a piece of scrap foam so you don't bugger up a good piece. All right, I've already done that. So essentially all I do with my wood floors, check to see if I'm missing anybody in the chat. Don't think so. Never made any type of diorama except for painting a cardboard box that I've used twice. Okay, so gamer, give it a shot. Get started. Try making, I recommend getting started with something small. Start with a brick wall. This might even be, something like this. Start with something like this. Just do a brick wall. And then you never know where you'll go from there. So use popsicle sticks for your wood floor. Yeah, you could use regular wood. For whatever reason, I have foam available, and then I don't have to buy it because I already have it. But anyway, so essentially what I do, before I cut any of my horizontal lines, I make sure that I get my wood grain in there and any of my other details, because if I were to start cutting all of my horizontals now, when I do my wood grain, then it's gonna catch those little grooves, and it might tear it up a little bit. So just another one of those little tips for ya. All right. So, and gamer, the worst thing that can happen if you try is it doesn't look the right way that you want, and either you paint over it or you start over. That's how all of us started, is we tried it out, and first one usually sucks, and then you kind of move on from there, and then it gets more fun. So hopefully you guys can see this. Essentially what I did is I just cut with my utility knife. I just cut my lines, and then I took my pencil, and I, just like with bricks. But then the other thing that I wanted to do, because this is going to be a kind of an abandoned building, I don't want these to be as perfect as like a brand new wood floor in a house is going to be. So we're going to weather that a little bit. And essentially what I did, and maybe you can see from an angle here, but I essentially started kind of sculpting or pushing and changing the edges so that they're not perfect. And all I did for that is really simple, is I just going from one side to the other, keeping to, so if I'm on this left edge of this particular board, probably can't see, I do this left edge of each one. I go through and do all of them on that side, and then I flip it and do the same thing down. That way then I'm kind of consistent and not having to move it around. But essentially all I'm doing is I'm just kind of using my pencil, and I'm actually just shaking it a little bit. And what that does, and you're not going to be able to see this most likely on the video, is that little bit of a shake gives it an uneven look. Like, it's not perfectly flat. It's actually a little bit jagged, like it was either where the bark on the wood, because if you've ever seen lumber, There's pieces of lumber that have a piece of bark because it's closer to the edge, and so that little piece of bark broke off of that board, and then there's this little bit of, I don't know, a missing wood. It doesn't have a perfectly square edge. That's what I'm trying to create here, is essentially like it's a raw wood rather than your typical really nice wood floor that you'd see in a house. This is more of a warehouse wood floor where they just used nearly raw wood. And so I'm just kind of roughening up these edges. Some of them, in some areas, I'm not doing the whole edge, just doing parts of the edge. And that way then I have some parts that are square and some parts that have that little bit of extra, character, I guess. So we did that. There's a few spots. So sometimes you'll see, maybe on the video, you can see right here, there's a little bit of a hole that I did. That is because when I was doing this, I accidentally cut in. Oops. And so all I did, you can either just work with that and make it like it's a crack and just use the pencil to do that. Or you can go all the way and just pull that whole piece out just by kind of picking at it. That's what I do. Just pick it out. And that's the cool thing about like these abandoned warehouses, house projects, is the less perfect, the better. I actually should have made these lines a lot less, I guess, perfectly square or whatever you want to call that. But I got ahead of myself and I started doing it before I thought about that. So it is what it is. All right. How we doing, everybody? Sound off in the comments. I'll hear you in 20 seconds because there's a delay. I won't hear you, I'll see you, I guess. But anybody working on a diorama right now while you watch? Be kind of cool to see. Okay, so next what I'm going to do, and this is going to probably take a little while, but I am going to make some knots. And I don't know if you can see, let's zoom this sucker in and show you. Hopefully you will be able to see it. Bring this down. Come on. Still getting used to all the controls on this thing. Okay, there we go. Now you'll be able to see that. So I have got, is it this one? Yeah. I'm making little knots because wood obviously doesn't have, it's not perfect. So I want to add a few knots. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to add a few more. Obviously you don't want to have them too close. And you don't want to have them all exactly the same. You don't want to all have them all smack dab in the middle of your board. So just, if you're unsure, go look up pictures of wood, old wood, and you can kind of see what it looks like. I'm not going to describe what it really actually looks like, but it kind of looks like an eye. We'll go with it looks like an eye. Probably working on a stop motion. Don't know. Ooh, stop motion. I used to do stop motion, but then I found that it took forever to do. So what I do when I'm doing my knots is I start from the middle and I make the initial middle portion, and then I just kind of draw little, it's not ovals, but it's very close to an oval. And I'm just drawing those. And you kind of want to give it, you want to make it kind of work its way into the rest of the wood grain that you made. So if you need to bring that out just a little bit, hopefully you can see. Oh, I'm barely on the camera. Worse. So it's going to be subtle. But when you do your black wash and then your dry wash, dry brush, that's going to really bring this out so that it's much more noticeable. So we're going to do a few of those. Hopefully you don't mind. And I might not talk for a lot because I just want to kind of get this done. I'm gonna unzoom this just a hair. I don't have to worry about not being on camera. You all can talk amongst each other, and hopefully everything will go fine. Thank you, Will. I appreciate that you are enjoying my knots. All right, here we go. So, thank you, Gamer and Will. The cool thing is these knots are so easy to make, and you don't have to do that much to get it to work. Put one here. The other thing too is you can have some of them go off the board on the edge. Those are a little harder. And you don't really want to have too many. But I don't know. Let's just kind of make it up as I go. I said I wasn't going to talk. I lied. The other thing to consider is the smaller the width of the board. So, okay, context here. This is a 6-inch board. This is an 8-inch board. This is a 4-inch board. I did I scaled it, so I found out what a 6-inch board would be in millimeters in 1/12 scale. And if you're not familiar, oh, I don't have it on me. There is an app. It's a free app on Android called Scale Calculator or Scale Calc. You can just type in, I want to do 1/12 scale, and then you just put in whether it's inches, feet, whatever, and you can translate it to whatever you want. It's really cool. So that's what I did. So that's why I have my board lengths or widths the way that they are. Anyway, we're still working. For me, I don't like going really deep because I want it to still be pretty subtle. Now, your style might be, hey, the wise bird, you're not too late. Never too late. I just got started. We're doing knots. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. You pick the style that you want. You know, there's lots of different styles that everybody can choose. So go find a piece of wood or a picture of some wood, and you come up with what you want it to look like. So if you like it really, really obvious, go deeper. And you know what? If it looks like garbage, the cool thing is let's say I got to the point where I hated everything that I just did. I have a couple of options. But the number one option is I could just sand this down because I haven't gone very deep. I could sand this whole thing down and start fresh, essentially. That's what I'm planning on doing with this piece, because I had started with, and I'm going to have a video on a wall builder that I'm testing out. I've messed it up big time here. So Gamer, I don't know if that app is Android only. I think it might be. And welcome, Jetta Patrol. Thank you so much for dropping by. Jetta, just so you know, there is a 20-second delay at a minimum. So if you have some settings that I could change to make that better so that a crappy computer can handle it, send me a private message so that I can fix this, because this 20-second delay is annoying the crap out of me. Anyway, I don't know where I was going. Oh yeah, you could sand it, and I messed this other piece up, so I'm gonna sand that down to get rid of some of those bricks that I put in that didn't line up right, and blah blah blah. So, but it is what it is. Did any of you catch yesterday's episode of This Week in Dioramas? I hope you did. It was a really awesome, I say awesome show not because of anything I did, but the dioramas that were in it, amazing. I mean, they are every week, but this last week was really, really amazing. I was gone on vacation, and, you know, it was almost a 50-minute show, which normally 30 to 40 minutes is what I try to do. There was just so much that I wanted to showcase, and yeah, it was really a great show. You guys have so much talent out there. It is absolutely amazing what people can do. So, yeah. Oh, 20-second delay is the delay. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad to know that it's not just me. It's hard to have a conversation when there's that kind of delay, but whatever. I guess if that's what it is, I'm not gonna keep talking, yammering on about it. That gets annoying too. So, but yeah, we were on vacation. We went to South Dakota. It was a blast. I did not realize just how beautiful South Dakota is. But yeah, that place is gorgeous. And I managed to take some pictures. I am a fledgling photographer. And the cool thing is I tagged Canon camera because I use a Canon M50, and I did not expect that they would like my picture, let alone comment, but they commented within like 5 minutes. And, you know, usually if it's a big company and they comment, it's like, oh, okay, well, it was an automated comment. But they actually referenced the last picture, and they said that they liked it, and they kind of recommended that I submit it. It wasn't a direct recommendation. They just said, if you think that we should showcase it on their Instagram, to submit it here. So my fingers aren't really even crossed they will, but I thought it was pretty darn awesome that someone liked it enough to even recommend that I should do that. So I thought that was cool. What's up, Fruit Loop Kid? How are we doing? And Mr. V Games and Toys, welcome. I did not get enough. No. You didn't? Yeah, okay, so Gamer, there was no notification for the premiere of the show yesterday because I set it to be a premiere within the 30-minute window of when they start doing the notifications. That was a mistake on my end. There was a notification supposed to go out once it went live, but I don't know if it only goes to those that are set up to be getting the notifications, like if you hit the bell notification or what. But yeah, that's why I know a lot of people didn't get the notification about the show yesterday, and that's why I'm bringing it up today. So if it's something that you wanted to see and you didn't know about it, go check it out. It is a long one. So alright, what do we got? Got the 80 years Captain America with a motorcycle, and I have him holding Thor's hammer, and I'm calling it Thor's hammer because I don't know how to spell it. It looks so awesome. Well, you can Google it, and Google will tell you the name. That's Mjolnir, but I don't know how to spell it either, so no biggie there. Alright. I think this is looking pretty decent. Yeah, sometimes YouTube just doesn't give the notifications. I know if you do hit the bell notification, it is supposed to do a notification every time, but I do know that I messed up because I didn't actually set the premiere setting outside of that 30-minute window, so that's probably my own fault. All right, I think that's enough knots. I don't want to do too many knots and then get myself into trouble. Wow, we've got 16 people on. Cool. That's awesome. Wasn't expecting that. So that's cool. Thank you, everybody. If you just joined, welcome. We're just doing a little bit of work on this diorama. I am going to have to deal with these. So this is one of the things that as you get further along into your diorama making, you get, oh, you probably can't see, you get better at addressing these little, we'll just call them mess ups. Yeah, I'll fix that. But what we're going to do first, we've got this piece, which is going to become the sidewalk. And essentially what this is going to do is it's a two-piece, or it's kind of a two-scene display. Wood floor for an interior, and then a sidewalk slash part of a street. So this is my sidewalk, and it is, I don't know, about a 1/4 inch thick. I could have used the poster board stuff, foam that you get at like Walmart and whatnot, but let's pull this out a little bit. It's a little bit close, but I had this laying around and I figured we'll use it. So we are going to kind of weather this up, but first we need to cut the lines for the sections of concrete, and then we can do that. So first things first is I need to make sure I don't want my lines for my sidewalk to coincide with the lines from my foundation. That just, to me, that's too much continuity there. I want to have it a little bit different. And the other piece is typically those concrete chunks. Now, there isn't a fast and hard rule, but oftentimes it's going to be about a 4-foot chunk. So I'm probably going to try and match that as much as I can. Let's pull this, zoom it out just a little bit more. That way then you can see it all. So that is what we're gonna do. I gotta find my ruler. Okay, we got the ruler. Okay, so what we're probably gonna do is we'll start here. Well, actually, let's measure this sucker up and see how much, I forget how wide it is. Oh, 11.5. So what we might do is put, let's mock this up. Let's assume if it was 12 and 4, that would give us 3. So let's just kind of eyeball this to make it like it's 12. It doesn't have to be perfect. So middle is going to be here. If we're going to have 3, that's going to put us at 8 here and 4 here. That'll work. Doesn't need to be perfect, right, guys and gals? If there are any gals, ladies. That was creepy. My bad. Okay, so let's do this. So the worst part about this little square is when my material is not technically wide enough or thick enough to sit on there. Let's do this. The other thing that I've learned with diorama making is you can sit and think about something forever, never making a decision. At a certain point, you kind of just got to start moving, make that decision. As you get better at making dioramas, those decisions start getting better as you make them. Alright. You know what? It's not going to be the end of the world if this isn't the way that I actually wanted it or planned it. So, now we need this edge. Again, continuity. What's up, Rocco the Great? Some nice dad hands. You like these dad hands? I don't know what a dad hand is. But I guess I have them. Alright. How we doing, Rocco? I saw you got the whole 80th Hasbro set. That is pretty darn cool. So, before we go too far with this, I just remembered. So, part of this is actually going to be covered by my my wall piece. So I don't want to make this go all the way to the end because I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do to kind of cover this edge. And so I don't want to have anything there quite yet. But so I'm just going to do it from here and figure that out later. It goes, you know, back to just make some decisions. This one I have not figured out what decision I'm going to make. So a little bit of hypocrisy right there for ya. Okay, so pretty much 0 sidewalks are this perfect. So we gotta weather this sucker up a little bit. Let's bring this in. And you can see this just a little bit better. How we doing, everybody? Anybody that's new that hasn't hit the chat? Got anything to say? I'm taking a drink, that's why. Okay, so this is going to be somewhat of an older, more beat up sidewalk, so I am going to round this edge, and essentially all I do is I take my pencil and I put it at a bit of an angle, and then I kind of flatten that edge out a little bit. That way then it just isn't quite perfectly square. Similar to what we were doing with the wood floor. This kind of takes that perfect edge off just a little bit. Now, next thing is very, very few sidewalk edges are this perfect. I should sand it. I wonder if that's going to cause issues with the audio, so we shall see. Let me have some gum on the sidewalk. Yeah, you could do that. That'd probably be pretty easy. Just need to get something, either take some sort of glue, like hot glue, and, you know, blop it on, or if you could make that pink before you did it, that would be even better. So I got to round this edge, and I want to really do it very minimally because I don't have a lot to work with here. I didn't want to get dust all over. That doesn't look too bad. A little bit more rounded. Can you even see that? See if it's like from this angle. Probably not, but it's a little bit more rounded. There, now. I'm not gonna say perfect, but much better. All right, here we go. So let's do, what do we want to do next? We probably want to, I want to put some, I can't think of the word. I want to roughen this up a little bit. I've got, take my word for it. Nice. Forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I'm gonna just put some detail in here, and because this is an old sidewalk, old concrete, I'm using this one, which is much more coarse. Otherwise, I would use this little sucker that I created, which is just a piece of duct tape with dirt that I picked up from my driveway. So this is also dirt that I got from my driveway. I just slathered on a bunch of hot glue on a pencil and put it in, the sand, little rocks, and over time they've started falling off, and so this gives me a much more coarse look, which is exactly what I want for this piece. And I just roll it on. Easy as that. It is so simple. You can go as deep as you want or not as deep, whatever. It all depends on the look that you're going for. Oh yeah, it's easy as that. Hopefully this is, I don't know, hopefully this is interesting to y'all. I know some of you guys have been doing this stuff for a long time. This is old news. Or you have better ways of doing things. I know there's people doing 3D printing, all that. I'm still doing the old school by hand methods. Such is life. Someday I'd like to get an airbrush and then figure out how to use that. Not there yet. I forgot the one thing I was gonna do was turn on my glue gun, but I don't know if we'll have time to get to the point of actually doing any gluing. I was gonna do the magnets, but I don't think I'm ready for that yet. I'm not ready for that commitment. Yeah, you want to make sure that you get these edges. I'm not going to do these edges because I need to sand that a little bit more because it's not quite to size, but I can do the rest of this. 3D printing, I don't even have a regular printer. Yeah, I've got a regular printer, but it is a piece of garbage. But I got it for free, so. All right, that's not bad. I might go back later and get more on this. I don't know. That's pretty good. I don't know if you can see that. Light is there now. That shows it a little bit better. After seeing a spot right there. Now, looking at it in different light, you'll notice where you kind of missed spots. The other thing is, if you want to bring it down just a little bit, you could sand it, and that'll, if you went too coarse, too deep, or whatever, you could certainly do that. But I think this looks pretty good. Next up, I'm going to do some cracks. We're going to do some cracks. Okay. Thank you, gamer. All right, I gotta find my scalpel. Found it. There we go. How many did I miss? Or how many of you did I lose? Not too many. All right, so cracks. I don't know that there's any real hard and fast rules to cracks, but I have a few. Number one, I try to think of where are the stress points. And so when I'm looking at my stress points or where it might be, it's usually going to emanate around the edges, obviously. It's going to probably start near these actual seams or lines or whatever you want to call them. But I like to make sure that there is a specific beginning and a relatively specific end to it. So, and that's also, I guess that is also important when it comes to when you're breaking pieces off. There's going to be a lot more broken chunks if you were to start, on these edges here, because there's more foot traffic here, and depending on what it might be a car that drove into it, so you're going to have chunks that are broken off. So just try to, put some thought into where you're putting that stuff. So I don't know, maybe there's other people that have better, more hard and fast rules, but we're just gonna do our best. So the other thing to consider is knowing that once you start painting it, the paint is what's really going to make these things stand out. So you don't need to make it super obvious. Now, again, that depends on what your style is that you're going for. I'm trying to be as realistic with mine as I can. Whether I get that or not, who knows, but so I said I was going to start with cracks. I decided to start with broken off chunks because this part's a little easier. Looks too weird. There we go, that looks better. Just be careful that you don't cut yourself when you're doing this. It seems like that should be an obvious thing, but we've all done it. Perfect looking. And sometimes you can use your fingernails, if you have any, to kind of dig away at it. And it gives it a nicer, can give it a nicer look. Okay, so let's do a couple of cracks. So I imagine there's going to be a crack here, and I lightly will take with just pretty much the edge, and it's best to have a sharp knife. Mine's not super sharp, but to kind of drag it along and, I don't know, kind of twist it so that it's like it's turning a little bit, and you're not going to see it too well right now, but I will take my pencil and I'll widen it just a little bit to give it a little bit more. And what I oftentimes will do is I'll look for where it kind of turns a little more dramatically, and I'll branch off from there. So, let's see if I zoom this in for you. Further? That's probably about as zoomed in as we can go. I'll just take my pencil and lightly, because I don't want this really deep, because I want this to be a fairly small crack, and I don't want to smooth this out too much. I still want it to be fairly jagged, so that sometimes I'll just use the very, very tip of the pencil, and if you have to, you might need to sharpen your pencil. And just bring that out just a little bit. Doesn't look too bad. And then you can take your pencil or your scalpel or X-Acto or whatever, and you can kind of make little deeper areas, like right there. Usually where some of the cracks join together, there might be a little bit of a piece that's kind of broken out. Let's use this to kind of pull that out. Just want to try and give it as much of a realistic look as you can. Let's get this out of the way. So, I don't know. That one kind of, oops. Looks decent. What kind of tools and materials should someone have when starting out making dioramas? Well, good question. Number one, you're going to want... it's not even on camera. Okay, we'll take a break. We'll answer that question because you took the time. Answer that. Okay. Number one, you need an X-Acto. Number two, you need a pencil. Number three, you probably will want a Sharpie of some sort. Then, number four, you are going to want a metal, repeat, metal ruler. And the reason for that is as you are cutting, you don't want your scalpel to cut into your ruler. So those wooden ones, you can use a wooden one. Just make sure that it has the metal edge. But the issue with these is if you want to do millimeters, which I do a lot of stuff in millimeters, oftentimes these cheap like 25-cent, 50-cent rulers, they don't have both sides with the metal. And the other thing that you run into is, like you can see this one, this is broken off. Well, as soon as this gets bent, the integrity of the straight edge is now gone. So that's why I really, really recommend that you get a decent, it doesn't need to be super expensive. This one's not a super expensive, but get essentially some sort of stainless steel metal ruler. Mine's 18 inches. I recommend 18 inches or more. But then I also recommend a T-square of some sort. That way then you can get those 90-degree edges. Materials that you're going to start with, most people I think start with styrofoam. And this is, I don't know if you're from America or maybe I know, but I'm not remembering. But usually you can get this at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's polystyrene foam. It is a high density foam and what that means is like in a lot of that packing stuff, it looks like it's little granular balls. You want the high density stuff that essentially when you cut it, it's like you're cutting clay or something. It doesn't have that coarseness. So it's a higher quality foam. They use this in construction for insulating the outside of a foundation and lots of other things, I'm sure. So those are some of the basic tools that you'd get started with. Trying to think if there's anything else. A lot of the stuff you can just make yourself, like for the texturing. This, I just made that. I don't know, I can't think of anything else. I mean, paintbrushes. You're gonna need paintbrushes. And there's a whole slew of different kinds. I don't personally like the synthetic kinds. I've got a few that they're just garbage. So you'll have to play around with the paintbrushes that you would like. This one happens to be one of my favorites for smaller airbrushes, from smaller dry brushing, because I have a little more control with it. For the bigger like full-on brick wall dry brushing, I use these little 2-inch brushes that you can get at like Home Depot for $1. And yeah, these are pretty awesome. They go, as long as you clean them, they go a long way. I don't know what this is made out of. It's, I don't know, some sort of weird, I don't know what it is, but I really recommend getting, you know, in different sizes. You can get 2-inch, 1-inch, but I find that the 2-inch is really good for getting a good base of dry brush. So, and then a notebook. I would say a notebook is another tool. And the notebook is really just to write down your ideas. So if it happens to be like a digital notebook or whatever, but get something like that. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go. It's been, how long has it been? A little bit over an hour. And I need to get the kids taking baths. So we'll put in a couple more cracks and then I think we'll call it a night. These live streams, every time I do them, I never get as far as I anticipate I'm going to get, but you know, I kind of like it. I like being able to do that and have a little conversation with you guys. So I really like it. I hope you guys enjoy it too. If you do, and you haven't already, you can hit the like button. That will certainly tell me that you like it. And I'll also let you know, since very few people are ever going to get to the end of this, I haven't made any kind of announcement or anything like that, but if you do want to support me, this is kind of a cheap plug. I'll put it in the comments. 1 second. Okay, so we all shop on Amazon, right? You don't need to do anything different, but if you go to this website, it's amazon.com/shop/TechChucker. I actually have an Amazon affiliate storefront, and I've put a whole bunch of Marvel Legends and SH Figure Arts, Mezco. Not asking you to go buy anything that you don't want, but if you are ever looking to buy anything, and you're probably going to buy it from Amazon, I would ask that you follow my shop and go check out what I've got there every day, or at least during the week. Sometimes during the weekend, I'm going to try. I have a list called Deals of the Day, where I am trying to find, okay, what Marvel Legends or what SH Figure Arts are on sale, and I throw them in there, and there's no additional cost to you. There's nothing, no real difference other than you would go to my shop and buy whatever it is that you're looking to buy through my shop, and I'll get a pittance of a commission out of it. But again, like I said, it's not increasing the cost to you. But if you don't want to do it, that's totally cool also. But go check it out. Follow it at least, and just kind of watch and see what I do. If you follow the Syndicate at all, I post a lot of deals that I find on the Syndicate, and I'll keep doing that as well. So if that is something that you're interested in, I invite you to go ahead and check it out. And we're just going to get it, like I said, a couple more cracks in before we call it a night. The problem with doing these cracks so light is sometimes it's hard to tell what you just put in, especially when you when you've already done the texturing. But anyway, all right. I think I'm gonna call that. I think it's good. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I really appreciate that. All right, I'm back. All right, so gonna call it a night. Oh, what do we got? We got a couple more comments, and I think paintbrushes are pig's hair. Yep, pig's hair and horse's hair, I think, is the best. Definitely, I like to check it out. Thank you, gamer. Everybody, have a great night. Thank you so much for joining me. I think I've repeated myself because I think I cut the audio, so I don't know what all I've said. But yeah, audio cutout. I forgot. I still got to figure out this Streamlabs thing. So I cut the audio for a second. But I will see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your weekend. I'm ending it now.